Shawn set up the tone. Tell us about Iowa.
When we got into that second record, all the frustration of what people were talking about this sophomore record, you know, and the curse of the sophomore record, and hearing people tell us what we needed to do more of, you know, write more Wait and Bleeds, or some more melodic things, or that we should do this with our stage show. All that became hate towards people that hated us to begin with. And really, it was a jealousy because it was so beautiful. It was so perfect. And they knew it. And I guess the logistics was in their favor. You know, it just didn't seem like a 9-man band could actually sustain. So when that first record got done and we got into the studio for the second record, and you know, Paul, Joey, and Jim got right into writing immediately after a rigorous tour cycle all around the world. I mean, I remember thinking we were never going to ever come home, that people around us were going to force us to more or less just take us for every dime that we are, you know, because it was working. So we took it all in, separated ourselves from the world, everyone around us, and just locked ourselves into a thought process that could never be obtained again because of the circumstances to be. And hate was just it. And the world was changing. You know, at least in the United States, things were going on. And, you know, there was a tragedy that happened in 2001, and we just happened to be out on the road 4 months before things kind of changed forever around here. And, you know, that's what it was all the frustration and the anger of obtaining one's dream. And I can't say it without the other. We did get a lot of what we always wanted. I mean, I can't tell you what it's like to be exposed to a culture like, you know, the Japanese people, and eat Korean barbecue with people that barely can speak English but start learning it because they want to know, they can hear that tone in your voice on the album. So they dig deep within their souls to start learning English so they know what you're saying. I mean, that's powerful stuff. But coming out of it, now all of a sudden, the people that really don't matter, they start having an opinion, and they start adhering themselves to us like parasites. So the only way to do it was to cut ourselves off from ourselves, almost creating it impossible for anything to adhere to ourselves, even including our brothers, our other bandmates. We separated ourselves from each other, but we made sure that we always got together to do this thing. And the thing was going to be called Iowa.
He's going to tell us all about his memories of what it was like, what the experience was like making this album.
You know, I can remember going to the studio. For instance, we decided to go to Sound City because Sound City had one of the most famous drum rooms, you know, in the world. And, you know, it's Studio A. And I remember walking in there with Joey and him going, okay, cool, now show me the smallest room. So we go back, and there's just this teeny little room that I think was just a glorified vocal booth, if anything. It might have even been a room that you just put guitar amps in to isolate them, you know. And he put his drum set in there, and his drum set pretty much took up the whole room. So here we are renting an expensive, you know, A-plus room for a big room, but utilizing the small room. And I remember the people there saying, I don't understand this band because, you know, the bands come here to use this room, and not only are they not using it, but they put a bar in it. We put a bar in the big room called Smoker's Lounge. And I mean, this is where we went. And I can remember those were the good days where you still would record to 2-inch tape. And, you know, Ross Robinson would, you know, cut drum fills and tape them on the wall. You know, Joey would do 3 takes of drums for one song. And then, you know, they might want to use the, you know, the drum fill from take 3. So they would have it cut up on the ceiling to use. And I can remember we would all show up late at different times in different vehicles with different people, and then we would make those people that we showed up with leave, and we would all take our time to get ready. And if we were supposed to be there at noon, we probably wouldn't get started until 2. And we would get together, and we would all play live together for Joey to do drum tracks. And the minute we were done, and he was like, okay, I've given everything I have. I believe that I have what I need for this song. And the minute he said that, we were all gone. Just everyone. Whereas the first record, we all were around. We were all taking the experience. We were all giving opinion. We were all, enjoying, just telling stories why Ross would cut. While he was getting exhausted, we were getting exhausted. I was running down the hill and getting people dinner. Or, we were bros. And we were still bros in Iowa, but there was hate. And it was like everyone was left at their own, devices.
To shed some light on what was going on in the band during the time of the recording of this album, was there a lot of egos floating around, Shawn?
There was extreme ego, for sure. I mean, the ego was just completely out of control because people start going for themselves. It's just a natural thing that happens because everyone in the world wanted to know who did it, whose idea was this. And, everybody went for themselves from time to time. You couldn't help it because you'd never experienced anything like that. You never knew that you were going to be asked a question like, so are you the mastermind behind all this? And it's very tempting to say yes. And, of course, I can't speak for anyone else, but I know that I did it. I know that I'm guilty for being too much ego. And there was a lot of ego. But I don't think the ego was that bad because we had just gone out and kicked the shit out of the world for 18 months. And, we looked at each other as the best. I'd watch my drummer play, and I'd just be like, you're the shit. And I think he would watch me be the clown and just go, there's no one else like you in the world in rock and roll. And I'd look at our guitar players, and I'd be like, those are the best guitar players in the world, and they're in the band that I am in. So I think our ego is good, but there definitely was a thought process that was not going to be deterred away from.
The clown from Slipknot there talking about what kind of a state the band were in during the recording period of their second album, Iowa.